Hi. My name is Aby Wolf. Thank you. I grew up in a very rural agricultural village in northwestern Illinois. For many years, my family lived on a farm a couple miles outside of town, down a gravel road and up a half-mile lane. The land was spacious and green, with rolling hills and fields. Huge swaths of wild forest lined every farm plot in the region, and still does. The winding back roads made our bus ride home from school every day feel like being on a roller coaster. It was idyllic and gorgeous and lush and oxygen-rich, and still remains to be some of the most beautiful land that I've ever seen. Growing up, my brother and I would play in the woods near our house, making secret forts out of fallen trees. Following the slope of the hilltop behind our farmhouse was a wild orchard up in the pasture. I can recall the cluster of wild feral apple trees dotting the crest of the hill and the sharp taste of those unripe apples. Every once in a while, my family would go for late afternoon walks together way up on the hilltop. My brother and I would run ahead of our parents to explore the orchard, clamber up on rock formations and pick any apple we could reach on the tree, taking a bite and spitting out the sour, unripe fruit. There was a very old car there, a relic, long abandoned and rusted into the ground amongst the trees. We thought, well, no one's coming back for this car, so we're free to do whatever we want to it, right? And we would play around in the car and throw rocks at the windshield and try to break the glass in the windows. The space up there in the pasture made us feel really wild and free. The land up there felt alive. We would sit and be quiet and listen to the wind as the afternoon light faded to dusk. The hairs on the back of my neck would stand up because I'd get the sense that we were not alone in the wild orchard on the hilltop. I grew up feeling very connected to the natural world that surrounded me, because as far back as I can remember, I was raised with the understanding that we shared the space and place where we lived with all sorts of other creatures and beings and energies. And that encouraged a strong curiosity for finding magic all around me. When I was about 6 years old, I got this idea that I wanted to make a magic potion from plants and dirt and rocks from our front yard. So I got a jar from the kitchen, and I started gathering up flowers and petals and twigs and water and mashed it all up and made a little concoction, and I was super proud to show my mom. She encouraged my creativity, and that felt really good. A few years later, though, I tried to take the same approach by mixing up a bunch of cleaning products and chemicals I found under the sink in the bathroom. Nail polish remover, toilet bowl cleaner, scouring powder, blue stuff, clear stuff, a little of this, a little of that, and I was lucky that nothing exploded. But that potion got me in a little bit of trouble, and rightly so. As my mom explained how dangerous that experiment could have been, I got really discouraged, and I tampered down my own curiosity, and I was really hard on myself for not knowing better. And today, I still consider myself to be a pretty creative person, but curiosity is something that I have to remind myself to foster a healthy relationship with, because sometimes it gets us into trouble, or can be even dangerous. The older I get, the farther away I feel from that early sense of wild, unbridled freedom to play, even though I'm a person who plays music. Now it's a bit harder to access the immediate, intimate connection to the aliveness all around me, and I sometimes feel afraid to go looking to stir things up. Some of that loss of innocence I attribute to the process of just growing up, but I do believe that at this point in time, for this generation and for all of us right now, we're beginning to feel a loss of innocence on a much broader and deeper scale And part of that I attribute to the effects of climate change. Growing up in an agricultural area here in the Midwest, I saw nothing but nature. Trees and streams and so many cornfields. We would run through them and play hide and seek in them between the rows of corn as kids on the farm. And now when I think about a cornfield, learning about what monoculture farming does to the ecosystem, the prolific use of chemicals and fertilizers and pesticides, I see that there's really very little that's natural about a cornfield. The memories I have of the beautiful land I grew up on, I didn't see it then. But there were toxic chemicals being used on a huge scale for farming all around us, throughout this whole region of our country. The more I allow myself to be curious about how our human lives actually operate, I see what we waste, and I see what we poison, whether we mean to or not. As a touring musician, I think about garbage a lot. Every single-use piece of packaging that comes with meals on airplanes, every set of utensils, food you buy in gas stations along the road to your next gig, individually wrapped everything, disposable everything. I think about garbage almost every day, whether or not I'm on tour. But I know that that's only a tiny part of the issues that we're all facing. What disturbs me the most when I think about climate change is that just by going about our daily lives, driving to work, buying food, traveling, and entertaining ourselves, by participating in the systems that make our society function, we are chewing up resources and spitting them out in a way that disrespects our shared source of life. Just by participating, we are causing some amount of harm, whether we know it or not. Because the systems in place do not reflect an understanding that this is a shared space with other creatures and beings and energies. This realization gives me a deep sense of grief. I try to make small choices that align my actions with my values, but I don't always know how to feel good about being a human on this planet at this time. Lucky for us, there's art. For me, music is a way to process emotions. It's a way to bring about a sense of interconnectedness. Finding the right melody that matches the way I feel is like turning over a compost pile. It's a way to make something useful out of what might be construed as garbage. Sharing music makes me feel like in one small way, I'm able to give back to the world and in turn feel held by it. Thanks. Mayson.
Running through the mud to trying to find my way through this swamp. But that whirlpool is the gate. Clouds in mind, I wish that I could just jump up, float away, but gravity's sucking, and my feet toss me the baton, so I can dive down, dive down, go now. I've known my twist round, I swear. We have forgotten we belong to each other. We have forgotten we created each other. We have forgotten. Now we long for one another. We have forgotten everything. Well, everyone time back with a thought forward in time, and everyone is so careless with the future and the tools that you use. I've been abused, you stand accused, and you alone are just a little tiny human. Tell me, what can you do? Told her to stay, but I'm not ready. Drinking a bay, wake up to dreams that say that it's okay. But none of this is normal. No, it ain't. None of this is normal. We've forgotten. Gave it the old college try. I made it pretty far, but I had no foresight. I come and I go. Well, these days I flutter and fly. Some things I just had to set aside. I cannot be made to pick up or reply. This talking is a trap. Action in a maze. I'm sinking down, 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 in and out of a phase. So I bind my hands right to the mast, so I don't sail my ship into the rocks. Hear that lovely song at last. The dead hand of the past. The dead hand of the past. Relinquish your bearings. What's waiting for you at sea? Pick the wolf you need. Open palm when you feed. Careful not to lose control. Catalog your needs. 'Cause once a wolf is grown, and it bears its shining teeth, the other wolves will cower and howl and never get back on their own 4 feet. So careful who you feed. Careful who you feed. Look, there's not a soul in sight. And I start having these ideas at night. Standing on an endless shore, constellations made of sand. And I can see the master plan. I can see the plan at night. Laughing at my waking life, laughing at the stress and strife, and dancing across an open mind, letting go of time at night. I knocked at a wooden door, I heard the creaking floor inside, and through the window I could not see in the room. No, there was not a moon that night. As the door opened, a tidal wave of fright met with a familiar sight. And as I beckoned for me to come inside, well, I had met myself at night, crossing over the threshold of the door. I was a young man, well, I was an old man, well, I wasn't one man. I was letting go of a thought, letting go of a skin and everything around me. I was undone, I was undone, I was undone, I was undone. Oh, 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 all roads lead to nothing. Means things aren't where they seems ripping. I'll go back to sleep.
Mayson.
Aby Wolf.